and there was a small rain cloud hovering over your customary ebullience, and it was the fear that this Conservative backbencher Christopher Chope would do what he has done before and talk out the second reading of the bill that you are seeking to see enshrined in law. In a nutshell, it's the Children Act 1989 amendment, female genital mutilation. We have news, I gather, Nimco, is that right?
Yes, we do. I tried to call him yesterday. So the great thing is that the Conservative Party, Labour, and even Number 10 have been trying to persuade him to basically act with some decency, and he's refused to do that. So I, even myself, tried to call him last night. He hung up on me. And then I sent him a text message basically pleading with him not to object to the bill, but he's intended on doing that.
His position procedurally, as I'm sure you know, but some people listening may not, is that they shouldn't have the laws shouldn't be passed without full debate in the House of Commons. So these unchallenged second readings, he thinks, pose some sort of threat to parliamentary privilege, or not privilege, parliamentary tradition.
Democracy, democracy, he says, but that's also very dishonest because he's very okay with his friends bringing in private members' bills. He's always voted against things that he sees as virtue signalling, and I just don't understand the fact that this is the piece of legislation that will prevent FGM. We've been too focused on getting prosecutions, which we got one last week. Yes. So a week to the day when we got the first conviction on FGM with a 3-year-old that could have been protected with this legislation.
What would the legislation do, briefly? And then I'll tell you where we stand with Mr. Chope.
So basically the legislation will ensure that social services and other people that are protecting children have the ability to get non-molestation orders in order to prevent FGM from happening. So if you're concerned about a child being at risk of FGM because another child's been cut or her mother has undergone FGM, it means that you can actually protect that child and really prevent one of the most horrific forms of child abuse.
What would it be? What would it become comparable to? Because at the moment the legislation does cover other horrific forms of child abuse, and the agencies are empowered to do what you want them to be able to do with FGM. So give us an example of something that's already covered by this sort of legislation. So, for example, domestic violence. So if you know that a woman has been in an abusive relationship, then you can get a non-contact order for those children. So social services, if the mother is unable to protect the child, then social services can prevent the father or the abuser being in contact with that child. So I'm not just saying that men are the only one that abuse children, but if the mother is abusive, then you can take that child and protect them and ensure that the abusive parent is not it's not able to harm that child or take that child out of the country, which is the same for forced marriage. So if a child could be at risk of forced marriage, then there's an order given so that child's protected. So literally, it's just saying that girls like me 27 years ago should have been given the protection in order to ensure that I'm not struggling with the experience of FGM today. And how big a setback will it be if Christopher Chope does get to his feet and essentially filibuster this bill?
I'm immensely privileged enough to know people that I can talk to at the MOG and get this passed, but he shouldn't be doing this. So not every activist is as connected or as lucky as I am or sucks up to enough people in Parliament in order to get stuff like this done. So he's really just making it hard for us to really to protect some of the most vulnerable people in our society.
And he is more than welcome, of course, to respond to everything you said in the usual way, as indeed Sir Nicholas Soames has just demonstrated. Conservative backbenchers can even ring in like ordinary callers do on this programme. Christopher Chope's wife, who I think works as his assistant, has told us that is unlikely to happen because he's in Parliament today. Nimco, work aside, speaking as a friend, you sound really bruised by this.
It sucks. It's just really horrible.